The blue-white sphere of Earth looked peaceful from the window of the space station. Elaine Morgan stared at her home planet, watching the swirls of clouds move slowly across its surface. After 20 years in diplomatic service, she had never imagined her biggest challenge would come from beyond the stars. "Ambassador Morgan, they're requesting your presence in the briefing room." Jack Nelson, her aide, stood at the doorway with a tablet in hand. His usually calm face showed signs of stress. "Another message?" Elaine asked, smoothing down her formal Navy suit. "Yes. The signal patterns have changed again. Dr. Wright says it's definitely communication, not natural phenomena." Elaine nodded and followed Jack through the curved hallways of the International Space Diplomatic Station. The year 2157 had brought humanity farther than many had dreamed possible. Colonies on Mars housed over 10,000 people. The research bases on Europa were making groundbreaking discoveries about alien microbes. Earth governments had finally established a unified approach to space exploration after the climate wars, ended 15 years ago, and now something was reaching out to them from the darkness between stars. The briefing room buzzed with activity when Elaine entered. Screens displayed data streams and astronomical charts. In the center stood Alan Wright, xenolinguist and first contact specialist, pointing at a holographic display of unusual signal patterns. "Ambassador, we've confirmed it," Dr. Wright said, his eyes bright with excitement. "These signals originate from the edge of our solar system. They're using mathematical sequences that couldn't occur naturally, and they're responding to our broadcasts." General Pete Harris, the military liaison, crossed his arms. "And they're getting closer. 3 vessels, based on our readings, larger than anything we've built." Elaine took a deep breath. "What are they saying?" "We've established basic communication protocols using mathematics and simple pictographs," Dr. Wright explained. "They identify themselves as representatives of something called the Galactic Concordat, an alliance of 7 spacefaring species. They're requesting a diplomatic meeting." "They've been watching us," added Diane Cooper, the station's science director. "Some of their messages reference our broadcasts from decades ago. They've been studying us for a long time." Elaine processed this information carefully. "And they're coming here now because they say it's time for formal assessment and introduction," Dr. Wright replied. General Harris snorted. "Assessment? Sounds like we're being judged." "Perhaps we are," Elaine said quietly. "If there's a community of advanced civilizations out there, they'd want to know if we're ready to join them, or if we're a threat." 3 days later, Elaine stood with her small team in the station's docking bay. The alien shuttle had requested permission to board, and after careful security protocols, they had agreed. Jack stood slightly behind her, while Dr. Wright fidgeted with his translation device. 4 armed security officers tried to look both alert and non-threatening. The airlock cycled with a hiss. When the door slid open, Elaine felt her breath catch. The aliens were nothing like the popular imagination had predicted. No little green men or terrifying monsters. The 3 beings that stepped through the doorway were roughly humanoid, but clearly not human. The tallest stood about 7 feet, with iridescent blue-green skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Its 4 eyes blinked independently, and its mouth was wider than a human's with strange ridges instead of teeth. The other 2 aliens were smaller with gray skin and large dark eyes. "Welcome to Earth's International Space Diplomatic Station," Elaine said clearly. "I am Ambassador Elaine Morgan, representing the United Earth Council." The tall alien made a series of clicks and humming sounds. A moment later, a small device on its chest spoke in slightly mechanical English. "We bring greetings from the Galactic Concordat. I am High Counselor Zex Torah of the Altharian Empire, primary voice of the Concordat. We have observed your species for many cycles and determined it is time for direct contact." The meeting continued in the station's conference room. The aliens explained that their coalition governed most of the explored galaxy, with strict rules about contacting developing civilizations. Earth had reached a technological threshold that warranted official recognition. "Your species progresses quickly," Zex Torah observed. "From primitive flight to interplanetary colonization in a single century, Most species require 3 or 4 centuries for such advancement. We're adaptable, Elaine replied with a smile. And curious. Perhaps too curious, one of the smaller aliens muttered before being silenced by a look from Zextora. As the meeting progressed, Elaine felt increasingly uneasy. The aliens asked pointed questions about Earth's military capabilities, energy resources, and population growth rates. They seemed particularly interested in humanity's conflicts and wars. We would like to continue this discussion aboard our vessel, Zextora finally announced. A full delegation from the Concordat awaits. This is standard protocol for first contact scenarios. General Harris cleared his throat. Ambassador, I'm not sure that's advisable without... I understand your concerns, General. Elaine interrupted smoothly. But this is a historic opportunity. She turned to Zextora. We would be honored to continue our diplomatic exchange aboard your vessel. I will bring a small team. 6 hours later, after careful preparations and communications with Earth governments, Elaine's shuttle approached. The alien mothership. It was massive, at least a mile long, with a design unlike anything humans had imagined. Strange geometric patterns covered its hull, and it emitted a faint, purple glow. Remember, Elaine told her team as they prepared to dock, we represent all of humanity now. First impressions matter. The alien ship's interior was just as strange as its exterior. Curved hallways with walls that seemed alive, lighting that changed in response to movement, and gravity that felt slightly lighter than Earth standard. They were escorted to a large chamber where representatives of all 7 Concordat species waited. What started as formal introductions quickly turned tense when Zextora's tone changed. The Concordat has reached a consensus regarding humanity, the alien announced without preamble. Your technological advancement rate is unprecedented and concerning. Your history shows a propensity for violence that exceeds galactic norms. The neural pathways of your species show troubling patterns. Elaine frowned. I don't understand. We came here in peace. All developing species claim peaceful intentions, said another alien representative. Yet your own history shows continuous warfare. The Concordat has determined that humanity requires containment protocols, Zextora continued. You will dismantle your interplanetary infrastructure and accept Concordat oversight of your technological development. That's outrageous, Jack protested. You can't just demand... This is not a negotiation, Zextora interrupted. It is notification of the Concordat's decision. Before Elaine could respond, Dr. Wright's communication device buzzed. His face paled as he read the message. Ambassador, he whispered, we're receiving emergency signals from Mars colony. They're under attack. Alien ships are targeting our infrastructure. The room erupted into chaos. Elaine turned to Zextora, shock and betrayal clear on her face. You were never here to welcome us, she realized. This meeting was a distraction, a necessary precaution, Zextora replied calmly. Uncontrolled expansion of your species presents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. You will remain here as our guests while containment procedures are completed. Armed guards appeared at the doorways. Elaine and her team were now prisoners, while across the solar system, humanity faced its first interstellar war. 3 weeks felt like 3 years to Elaine. The small room where she and her team were held had no windows. The only light came from panels in the ceiling that dimmed during what they assumed were night cycles. They received meals twice a day, strange gelatinous cubes that tasted vaguely like chicken, but had the texture of firm tofu. Dr. Wright had given up trying to speak with their guards on the 10th day. The aliens would not respond to any questions about what was happening on Earth or Mars. Jack spent most of his time exercising in the limited space, doing push-ups and sit-ups until his body gave out from exhaustion. It kept him sane, he said. Elaine mostly sat and thought. She reviewed everything she knew about the Galactic Concordat, searching for any weakness or contradiction in their behavior. Something wasn't adding up. On the 22nd day of their captivity, the door slid open at an unusual time. Instead of the typical tall guard with food trays, a smaller alien entered quickly. Its skin was a pale yellow with faint, spotted patterns. 4 slender arms moved nervously as it glanced back at the corridor. I am Krillix of the Venth, it whispered in surprisingly clear English. We have little time, the patrol changes in 14 minutes. Elaine stood up slowly. Why are you here? What they do is wrong, Krillix said, moving to a panel near the door and pressing a sequence of symbols. Not all in the Concordat support this action against your people. My faction believes first contact should be peaceful. Dr. Wright approached cautiously. What's happening back home? To Earth? Your planet fights well despite inferior technology, Krillix replied, pulling a small device from a pouch at its waist. Mars colony is under occupation. Communication with your moon Europa was lost 2 weeks ago. Earth's military has destroyed 17 Concordat vessels, but more arrive daily. Jack's fists clenched. They're killing us. Not killing. Containing, Krillix corrected. The goal is not extinction but regression. They want humanity returned to pre-space travel technology levels. Why? Elaine asked. What did we do to deserve this? Krillix's large eyes blinked rapidly. You frightened them. Now we must move quickly. The alien led them through dimly lit corridors. Twice they had to hide in maintenance alcoves as patrol groups passed. Krillix explained in hushed tones that most of the ship's crew was occupied with the Earth containment operation. Here, Krillix said finally, stopping at a small bay with several shuttle-like craft. This transport will take you back to your planet. I have programmed it to avoid detection. Come with us, Elaine offered. You've risked everything to help us. Krillix hesitated. I would be considered a traitor. You already are, Jack pointed out. They'll figure out who helped us. After a moment's consideration, Krillix nodded. Perhaps I can help your people understand the Concordat better. It may save lives. The journey back to Earth was tense. The small transport was designed for Venth physiology, with uncomfortable seating and controls that required careful study before use. They had several close calls with Concordat patrols but managed to slip past using Krillix's knowledge of blind spots in their sensor systems. As they approached Earth, the true scale of the situation became clear. Dozens of alien ships surrounded the planet. Debris from satellites and space stations drifted in orbit. Occasionally, flashes of light indicated ongoing battles. We can't just fly in, Dr. Wright observed. They'll shoot us down. Krillix manipulated the controls. This vessel has Venth diplomatic codes. If we approach through this sector, we might reach the surface before they realize who we are. The plan worked, barely. They entered Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean, the shuttle's hull glowing red-hot during the descent. Krillix managed to direct them toward North America, aiming for what remained of the United Earth Council headquarters in Denver. When they landed in a field outside the city, they were immediately surrounded by human military vehicles. Soldiers in combat gear approached with weapons raised. This is Ambassador Elaine Morgan, she shouted, stepping out with her hands up. Security code Alpha 7 Delta 9. A tense minute passed before a commanding officer ordered his troops to lower their weapons. They were quickly escorted to an underground facility where the remnants of Earth's leadership had established an emergency command center. General Samantha Powell, now the acting head of the United Defense Council, greeted them with surprise and relief. We thought you were dead, she said, embracing Elaine briefly. Or still captive. We escaped with help, Elaine explained, gesturing to Krillix, who stood nervously among the humans. In the command center's briefing room, General Powell explained the situation. The attacks had started simultaneously across the solar system. Mars was now fully under alien control. The Europa research station had been destroyed. On Earth, the aliens had established blockades in orbit and were systematically targeting military installations and major technology centers. They're picking us apart, the general said grimly. Our weapons can hurt them, but they have too many ships, and their technology is at least a century beyond ours. Their goal isn't to destroy us, Elaine explained. They want to contain us, push us back to a pre-space travel civilization. Dr. Wright, who had been listening intently to Krillix during the briefing, suddenly spoke up. I think there's something we're missing here. The language patterns Krillix uses when discussing the Concordat's actions, they suggest fear rather than aggression. All eyes turned to the alien. Is that true? Elaine asked. They fear us? But why? We've barely left our solar system. Krillix's spotted skin flushed a deeper yellow. Your species adapts faster than any known civilization. Your technology advancement curve is nearly vertical compared to other species. The Altharians, those like Zextora, have dominated the Concordate for millennia because of their technological superiority. They fear what humans might become in just a few generations. Jack slammed his fist on the table. So they attack us before we can defend ourselves. There's more to it, Krillix continued. The attack wasn't unanimously approved. 3 of the 7 Concordate species opposed it, including my own. That's why I helped you escape. This action violates our core principles. A slow realization dawned on Elaine. If the Concordate is divided on this issue, then there's another approach besides military resistance. What do you mean? General Powell asked. The Concordate answers to a larger body, doesn't it? Elaine asked Krillix. You mentioned protocols and principles. Krillix nodded. The Galactic Assembly. It governs all spacefaring civilizations in this sector. The Concordate is merely its enforcement arm. And they have rules, procedures, Elaine continued, her diplomatic mind racing ahead. Including how to handle first contact situations. Yes. The Assembly's first contact protocols explicitly prohibit unprovoked aggression, Krillix confirmed. What the Concordate is doing could be challenged. How? General Powell asked skeptically. We petition the Assembly directly, Elaine said, her voice growing stronger with conviction. We demand a hearing. If 3 Concordate species already oppose this action, others in the Assembly might too. Krillix looked doubtful. The journey to the Assembly station would be extremely dangerous, and you would need a sponsor to be heard. Would you sponsor us? Dr. Wright asked. After a long moment, Krillix's forearms made a complex gesture. By helping you escape, I have already chosen sides. Yes, I will sponsor your petition. But know this, the Assembly has never reversed a Concordate containment action once it began. Then we'll be the first, Elaine said firmly. General, I need a ship and a small team. We're going to take our case to the stars. For the first time since the attacks began, a flicker of hope appeared in the room. They had a plan, dangerous, and unlikely to succeed, but a plan nonetheless. Humanity would not go quietly into regression. They would fight, not just with weapons, but with words, and Elaine Morgan would lead that fight to the heart of galactic power. The small ship trembled as it passed through another debris field. Pieces of what once were satellites and space stations floated silently in the black vacuum. Elaine gripped her seat as the vessel shuddered again. Concordate patrol ships ahead, Krillix announced from the pilot's position. Holding pattern near the moon base, we must go around. It had been 3 days since their escape from Earth. The planet's remaining military forces had created a diversion in the North American sector, allowing Elaine's small team to slip through the blockade. Their ship was a hybrid, a human, shuttle modified with technology from Krillix's escape vessel. Dr. Wright had called it the best of both worlds, which isn't saying much. Besides Elaine, Krillix, Jack, and Dr. Wright, their team included General Powell and a quiet systems engineer named Lisa Reyes, who had experience with alien tech from studying crashed Concordate vessels. How much longer to this assembly station? General Powell asked, checking her weapon for the 5th time that hour. The celestial nexus is at the edge of what you call the Orion Arm, Krillix explained. With this vessel's capabilities and the route we must take to avoid detection, approximately 12 days, if we make it past the blockade, Jack muttered. Lisa looked up from the console where she was studying alien tech schematics. The stealth modifications should hold. The real problem will come when we're in deep space. This ship wasn't designed for that kind of journey. Dr. Wright, who had spent most of his time talking with Krillix and learning about galactic politics, cleared his throat. Perhaps we should review what we know about the Assembly. If we're going to make our case there, we need to understand the rules. Elaine nodded. Good idea. Krillix, tell us everything. As their ship carefully navigated past the moon, hiding in sensor shadows created by debris, Krillix explained the structure of galactic governance. The Galactic Assembly includes 32 spacefaring civilizations from this sector of the galaxy. Most are peaceful, but all maintain defense capabilities. The Concordat was formed 5,000 years ago as the Assembly's enforcement arm. Like a police force? Jack asked. More like peacekeepers and first contact specialists, Krillix replied. Originally, they were meant to help developing species transition into the galactic community. Over time, under Altharian influence, they became more concerned with containing potential threats. And humanity is considered a threat, Elaine said. Yes, your development speed alarmed them. Most species take centuries to progress from primitive flight to space colonies. Humans did it in decades. They fell silent as the ship passed dangerously, close to a Concordat patrol. Only Lisa's last-minute adjustment to their energy signature prevented detection. Once clear, General Powell asked the question that had been bothering her. How many other species have they contained this way? Krillix's skin paled slightly. 17 in the past 3,000 years. All were reduced to pre-industrial technology levels and placed under observation. None have rejoined the galactic community. The weight of this statement hung heavy in the air. Everything humanity had built, their technology, their knowledge, their future among the stars, could be erased. Dr. Wright broke the silence. What exactly happens at this assembly? How do we make our case? The right of petition, Krillix explained. An ancient law that allows representatives of endangered species to address the assembly. It has not been invoked in over 500 years, but it remains valid. And you think they'll listen to us? Jack asked skeptically. They must by their own laws, Krillix said, but listening does not guarantee action. 5 days into their journey, disaster struck. Their ship's power core began to destabilize after pushing too hard to evade a Concordat deep space patrol. They were forced to stop for repairs in an asteroid field at the edge of the solar system. While Lisa and Krillix worked on the core, Elaine floated in the observation bubble, staring at the distant speck that was Earth. From here, it looked peaceful, just a pale blue dot. It was hard to imagine the battles raging around it. Beautiful, isn't it? Elaine turned to see Dr. Wright floating beside her. I've been studying more of the Concordat communication patterns, he said quietly. And I've noticed something odd. Their language when discussing humans shows signs of deep-rooted fear, almost primal. Fear of what we might become? Elaine asked. Perhaps, but I think it's more than that. Something about our fundamental nature frightens them. Before they could discuss further, the ship's alarms blared. 3 Concordat vessels had appeared at the edge of the asteroid field and were moving toward them. We need to run, General Powell insisted when they gathered in the control room. The core isn't fixed, Lisa replied. We'll blow ourselves up if we push it now. We can hide deeper in the field, Jack suggested. Their sensors will find us eventually, Krillix countered, as, they argued, a new signal appeared on their scanners. Another ship was approaching rapidly, but its design was unlike the Concordat vessels. It was smaller, with an elegant, curved design that seemed to shimmer between states of visibility. A myriad ship, Krillix whispered in awe. Before anyone could ask what that meant, their communication system activated. A melodic voice spoke in perfect English. Human vessel, this is Elder Tholak of the Myriad. We have been observing your journey. Follow our signal pattern precisely if you wish to survive. They had no choice but to trust this unexpected ally. Lisa adjusted their course to match the strange, pulsing signal sent by the Myriad ship. They navigated through the asteroid field along a path that seemed impossibly complex, eventually entering a large hollow asteroid that shielded them from detection. The Myriad ship docked alongside them and Elder Tholak came aboard. The alien was unlike any they had seen. Its form seemed to shift slightly when not directly observed, with skin that reflected light in impossible ways. It moved with fluid grace in the zero gravity. Why help us? General Powell asked bluntly. Not all in the galaxy agree with the Concordat's assessment of humanity, Tholak replied. The Myriad have watched your species with interest. Your patterns of thought are Refreshing. While the Myriad helped repair their ship, Tholak explained that the situation in the assembly was more complex than Krillix knew. Several member species had objected to the containment order but were overruled by the Altharian-led majority. Politics among the stars is not so different from your own world, Tholak observed. Power, fear, and resources drive many decisions. Resources? Elaine asked, catching the implication. Tholak's form shimmered slightly. Your solar system is rich in materials valuable to certain species. Your removal as competitors is convenient for some. This revelation changed everything. What they had thought was fear of human potential might actually be something more base, simple greed disguised as security concerns. With the Myriad's help, they completed their repairs and charted a safer course to the Celestial Nexus. As they prepared to depart, Tholak offered one final piece of advice. When you address the assembly, Ambassador Morgan, remember that logic alone will not sway them. All species, even those that claim pure rationality, are moved by deeper currents. Find what truly motivates their actions, and you may yet save your people. 3 days later, the massive structure of the Celestial Nexus came into view. It was a breathtaking sight, a vast space station shaped like interlocking rings, each rotating to create gravity. Light sparkled across its surface like a city among the stars. We're being hailed, Lisa announced. A stern voice demanded their identification and purpose. Krillix responded with formal phrases in an alien language, ending with words that caused a long silence from the other end. Finally, the voice returned. Approach Docking Bay 17. You will be escorted directly to holding chambers until your petition can be reviewed. Will they let us speak? Jack asked nervously. They must, Krillix replied. But whether they listen is another matter entirely. Their ship was guided toward the massive station. Elaine felt the weight of her responsibility more heavily than ever. She wasn't just a diplomat anymore. She was the voice of humanity, fighting for her species' very future among the stars. The holding chamber was more comfortable than Elaine had expected. Unlike their prison on the Concordate ship, this room had proper beds, clean facilities, and food that actually tasted good. Still, they remained captives, waiting for the assembly to decide whether to hear their petition. 3 days, Jack complained, pacing the room. How long does it take to check if we have the right to speak? The assembly moves slowly, Krillix explained. Many species must be consulted. Some communicate in ways that take time to translate. Dr. Wright sat cross-legged on the floor, reviewing notes on his tablet. I've been studying everything Krillix has told us about previous containment actions. There's a pattern we might be able to use. Before he could elaborate, the door slid open. A tall, insect-like being with an exoskeleton of shimmering purple entered. Its mandibles clicked as it spoke, the words translated by a device at its throat. The petition has been reviewed and granted. The human species may address the full assembly today. You will have one standard time unit to present your case. How long is that in Earth time? General Powell asked. Approximately 40 of your minutes, Krillix whispered. The insectoid continued. High Counselor Zexitora has requested to present the Concordate's position first, as is traditional. You will then be permitted to respond. Who will judge our case? Elaine asked. All attending members of the assembly will vote. A 2/3 majority is required to overturn a concordate action. The alien paused, its compound eyes fixing on Elaine. I should inform you that no containment action has ever been overturned. It would be unprecedented. After the alien left, they gathered to plan their approach. 40 minutes isn't much time, General Powell said. We need to be concise and hard-hitting. We should focus on demonstrating human potential for good, Dr. Wright suggested. Art, music, scientific discoveries that benefit all life. Jack disagreed. We should emphasize our resilience. Show them that trying to contain us will only lead to more conflict. No threats, Elaine said firmly. We need to appeal to their sense of justice, not fear. Krillix, who had been quiet during this exchange, finally spoke. There is something you should know before you go in there. The Altharians, Zexitora's species, hold disproportionate influence in the assembly. Many smaller species fear opposing them. Politics, General Powell muttered. Some things are universal. 6 hours later, they were escorted into the assembly chamber. The space was vast, a circular amphitheater with tiered seating rising up on all sides. Each section held representatives of different species, some humanoid, others utterly alien, in form. The lighting adjusted constantly, presumably to accommodate the various visual needs of the assembled beings. At the center was a raised platform where speakers would address the gathering. Elaine and her team were directed to a small waiting area to one side, while Zextora and several other Concordat representatives took their places at the platform. The session began with a series of musical tones that brought the chamber to silence. An ethereal voice announced the proceedings in multiple languages simultaneously. The assembly recognizes High Counselor Zextora of the Altharian Empire, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Concordat. Zextora stepped forward, its blue-green skin catching the light dramatically. It spoke for nearly 30 minutes, presenting the case against humanity with eloquence and conviction. The species known as humans represents a unique threat to galactic stability, Zextora declared. Their technological advancement rate exceeds all established safety parameters. In the brief span of 100 local years, they progressed from primitive atmospheric flight to establishing colonies on other planets in their system. Displays around the chamber showed images of Earth's history, wars, environmental damage, nuclear weapons tests, their biological programming drives them to expand aggressively, Zextora continued. They consume resources at unsustainable rates. They resolved conflicts through violence throughout their history. Their neural patterns show heightened aggression compared to civilized species. The Altharian concluded with a grave warning. If left unchecked, humans would spread rapidly through nearby systems, destabilizing existing territories and threatening established species. The containment action, while regrettable, is necessary for the greater good of all civilized worlds. When Zexitora finished, there was a low murmur through the chamber. Many representatives seemed to be nodding or making gestures of agreement. The assembly now recognizes Ambassador Elaine Morgan of Earth, speaking on behalf of humanity. Elaine walked to the platform, her heart pounding, but her step steady. She looked out at the gathered representatives. The fate of her entire species would be decided by these beings who knew so little about them. Distinguished members of the Galactic Assembly, she began, her voice clear and strong. I stand before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as a voice for a principle that I believe must exist in any truly advanced civilization. The principle that communication should precede violence, and understanding should precede judgment. She paused, allowing the translation devices to catch up. High Counselor Zexitora has shown you selected images of humanity's past. Yes, we have fought wars. Yes, we have made mistakes that harmed our planet. But what you haven't seen is how we've learned from these errors. Elaine gestured, and Dr. Wright activated their own prepared displays showing Earth's environmental restoration projects, peace treaties, humanitarian efforts, and scientific breakthroughs. Humans are not perfect, but we strive to be better. Our capacity for growth and change is our greatest strength. Where once we fought over resources, many nations now cooperate. Where once we damaged our environment, we now work to heal it. She walked slowly around the platform, making eye contact with representatives from different sections. The Concordat claims we advance too quickly. Is rapid learning a crime in this assembly? They say we are aggressive, yet who attacked whom without provocation? They claim we would destabilize the galaxy, yet they offer no evidence beyond fear of what might happen. Elaine could see she was making an impression on some representatives, but others remained impassive. She needed something more powerful. Remembering Tholak's advice about finding what truly motivated their actions, she decided to take a risk. I have studied the 17 previous species subjected to containment by the Concordat. In 15 cases, those species occupied resource-rich systems that were later accessed by Concordat members. In 12 cases, the Altharian Empire specifically established mining operations within 10 years of containment. A ripple of reaction moved through the chamber. Some representatives leaned forward with interest, others shifted uncomfortably. And so I must ask one simple question. Elaine paused, her gaze finding Zexatora directly. Why attack us? The chamber fell completely silent. If humanity is as primitive and dangerous as you claim, why did you not attempt to guide us toward better paths? If we are as intelligent and capable as your actions suggest you fear, why did you not invite us to join you as equals? What does an unprovoked attack on a developing species say about your own civilization? She let the question hang in the air for a moment before continuing. I believe the answer is simple. This is not about protecting the galaxy from humanity. This is about protecting certain interests from competition. It is about resources, territories, and power. The very things you accuse humans of coveting. From the Altharian section came sounds of protest, but Elaine continued, her voice growing stronger. We do not ask for special treatment. We ask only for the justice your own laws promise. The right to develop our potential without interference, to join the galactic community when ready, and to be judged by our actions, not by your fears. As she finished her speech, the chamber erupted into a chaotic mixture of sounds, clicks, whistles, rumbles, and words in countless languages. The debate had begun, and humanity's fate hung in the balance. Chaos ruled the assembly chamber. Representatives from dozens of species spoke all at once, some rising from their seats to gesture dramatically. The translation system struggled to keep up with the flood of languages. Elaine stepped back from the central platform, her heart pounding. She had said what needed to be said. Now it was up to the assembly to decide. Jack moved closer to her. That was amazing, he whispered. You had them listening. Not all of them, Dr. Wright observed, watching the Altharian section where Zexatora was engaged in heated discussion with other members of the Concordat. General Powell kept her eyes on the security forces stationed around the room. Stay alert. This could still go badly. A loud tone silenced the chamber, and the ethereal announcer voice spoke again. The assembly will now hear responses to the human petition. The Altharian delegation has requested right of immediate reply. Zexatora returned to the central platform, its skin now a darker blue, a sign of anger Krillix had explained earlier. These accusations are outrageous, the Altharian declared. The Concordat acts only to protect galactic stability. Resource acquisition has never been our motivation. Then explain the pattern, called out a voice from across the chamber. All heads turned to see Elder Tholak of the Myriad standing. The statistical correlation between containment actions and subsequent resource claims cannot be dismissed as coincidence. Zextora's four eyes blinked rapidly. The Myriad have no standing in this matter. They are not Concordat members. But we are Assembly members, Tholak replied calmly. And this is an Assembly hearing. Another representative stood, a massive being with rocky skin and glowing veins of what looked like magma. Its voice rumbled like an earthquake. The Lithic Collective has reviewed the humans' claims. We find merit in their questions. Our analysts confirm the pattern they describe. More voices joined in, some supporting the humans, others defending the Concordat. The debate grew heated again until a sharp whistle cut through the noise. A small avian being with iridescent feathers took the floor. The Kriva wished to know why proper first contact protocols were not followed with humans. Where was the observation period? The cultural exchange? The technological guidance? Zexatora's response was immediate. Humans were deemed too volatile for standard protocols. Based on what evidence? The bird-like alien pressed. Classified Concordat assessments, Zextora replied. This caused another uproar. Elaine watched in amazement as more species began to question the Concordat's authority. Something unprecedented was happening. The Altharians were losing control of the narrative. Then came the moment that changed everything. A young Altharian stepped forward from their delegation. Unlike the others of its kind, this one's skin was a pale blue, almost white. It approached the speaking platform hesitantly. I am Junior Observer Mex Alti of the Altharian Science Directorate, it said, voice trembling. I must speak. Zextora made a sharp gesture. You have no authority here. Return to your place. Let the junior observer speak, called out multiple voices. After a moment of tension, the assembly moderator gave permission. The young Altharian looked terrified but determined. I was part of the Earth observation team, Mexalti said. Our true findings were not what the Concordat has presented here. A hush fell over the room. Humans are not unusually aggressive compared to early development stages of most species, including our own. Their technological progress is rapid but not unprecedented. What is unique is their adaptability and their creative problem-solving. Mexalti's voice grew stronger as it continued. Our predictive model showed that humans would likely surpass Altharian technology within 1 century if allowed to develop naturally. This was deemed unacceptable by our leadership, not because humans posed a threat, but because it threatened our dominance in the Concordat. The chamber erupted again. Zextora and several other Altharians moved toward Mexalti, but security forces blocked their path. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Commander Ryan Daniels led a desperate mission. For weeks, his resistance fighters had studied captured alien technology, looking for weaknesses. They had finally found one, a specific frequency that disrupted Concordat shield systems. In a coordinated attack, Earth forces struck at the blockade ships simultaneously. The Concordat vessels, confident in their superior shields, were caught off guard when their defenses flickered and failed. Human weapons, while less advanced, proved effective against unshielded targets. News of this success reached the Celestial Nexus during the assembly debate. The human resistance had not only damaged several Concordat vessels, but had actually captured one intact, a feat that shocked many assembly members. You see, General Powell said when the report came in, humanity will not be easily contained. Better to have us as allies than enemies. After hours of increasingly heated debate, the assembly moved to vote. The process was complex, with different species voting in different ways. Some used electronic systems, others performed ritual gestures, and some communicated through color changes or pheromones. When the results were finalized, the chamber fell silent once more. By a vote of 21 species to 11 with 3 abstentions, announced the moderator, the Assembly hereby orders the immediate cessation of all containment actions against Earth and the human species. The Concordat is directed to withdraw all forces from Earth's solar system within 7 standard days. Relief washed over Elaine, but she knew better than to celebrate too soon. And what guarantees do we have that this order will be respected? She asked. Elder Tholak stepped forward. The Myriad will dispatch observers to ensure compliance. Additionally, we offer technological and cultural exchange with humanity as you rebuild. The Lithic Collective extends the same offer, rumbled the rock-like being. One by one, various species pledged support or offered alliances. Humanity had not just avoided containment, they had found their place in the galactic community. 6 months later, Elaine stood at a window in the newly constructed Earth Embassy on the Celestial Nexus. Behind her, human and alien diplomats mingled at a reception celebrating the official recognition of Earth as a sovereign member of the Galactic Assembly. Krillix approached, now wearing the official insignia of Venth Ambassador to Earth. Your people recover quickly. The damage to your Mars colony is already being repaired. We're good at rebuilding, Elaine replied with a smile. And with the new technologies our allies have shared, we're advancing faster than ever. The Altharians are not pleased about that, Krillix noted. Their influence in the Concordat has diminished significantly since the hearing. They'll adapt, Elaine said, or they'll be left behind. That's how progress works. Dr. Wright joined them, holding a strange fruit from some distant world. The linguistic exchange programs are exceeding expectations. Humans have an unusual aptitude for alien languages, and for asking uncomfortable questions, added Mexalti, who had been granted asylum on Earth after facing persecution from the Altharian leadership. A young human diplomat approached Elaine with wide eyes. Ambassador Morgan, I still don't understand how you knew that one question would have such an impact. It changed everything. Elaine looked out at the stars, the same stars that humanity would now explore freely, as equals among the galactic community. I didn't know, she answered truthfully. But throughout human history, we've learned that the most powerful weapon against fear isn't force. It's making someone confront the contradiction between their stated principles and their actions. She turned to face the young diplomat. Remember that, in the centuries ahead, as humanity takes its place among the stars, our greatest strength won't be our technology or our adaptability. It will be our ability to see through facades and ask the questions others are afraid to ask. Outside the window, ships from a dozen worlds moved through space around the Nexus. Among them was an Earth vessel, its hull bearing the new emblem of a united humanity, ready to face whatever challenges the vast universe might bring next.